I must admit tonight that I am an avid sports fan. The members at Pine Grove know that I love the Alabama Crimson Tide. I've got some help in the house. I'm cheesing like a chess cat, Dr. Clay, because I love me some Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. But I'm also a baseball fan. And I love me some Atlanta Braves. On May the 7th of this year, Freddie Gonzalez, who was the manager for the Braves, was fired. And the Braves hired Brian Snitker as their interim manager. Before the All-Star break, the Braves ranked last in the majors in batting average, last in OPS, last in runs per game, and 28th in on-base percentage. That was before the All-Star break. But after the All-Star break, there was a period where the Braves led the majors in on-base percentage. They were tied with Colorado for highest average and third best OPS and sixth most runs per game. And the Braves, although they started the season downward, finished the season last in the National League East, but won 20 of their last 30 games. Snitker, who took over from Freddie Gonzalez, ended the season 59-65, and because of the way he turned this Braves team around, on this Monday, the organization took off the interim tag and made him the manager of the Atlanta Braves. You missed it, but truth of the matter is, all of us in our lives have had situations where we needed God to bring about a turnaround. And it was this Atlanta Braves team that taught me a very valuable lesson. They taught me that as bad as things may be, you cannot quit. You cannot throw in the towel. You can't pull a Marvin Gaye and throw up both your hands and holler. At the end of the day, with God, there's always the possibility of a turnaround. Preacher boy, turn around in your marriage, turn around in your career, turn around in your health, turn around even in your church. You've got to stay encouraged. You've got to keep on looking toward God, because God is able to bring about a turnaround. If there was ever a story in this text, in the Bible, that would help me prove my case, I believe it's the story before us tonight. I believe John 2 is evidence that with God, there's always the possibility of a turnaround. The context of the text informs us that there was a wedding going on. And you got to understand that weddings were always huge social events in those days. The celebration could last as long as a week, and we're not told particularly who it was that was getting married, but in that Mary and Jesus is at the wedding, perhaps it was somebody that was close to them. But whoever it was that was getting married, they had sense enough to know that if a marriage was going to take place, Jesus needed to be there. Can I say this parenthetically? I thank God for the couple, because they had sense enough to know that if you want anything to take place good, you better make sure Jesus is in the house. And let me say something tonight. Nothing will happen in your home, for your home, or to your home until Jesus gets in your home. Nothing will happen for your marriage, to your marriage, or through your marriage until Jesus gets in your marriage. Preach, boy. Nothing will happen in your church, for your church, or through your church until Jesus gets in your church. And so this couple told me to tell you, if you want things to turn around in your life, perhaps you need to involve Jesus. And maybe that's the problem with too many of us. We've been involving the wrong folk. Yeah, you need to leave Facebook where they are and involve Jesus. You need to leave Twitter where it is and involve Jesus. Don't be calling Oprah, asking her about your marriage, and she been shacking with Stedman for years. Is there anybody up in this house that can testify things get better when you involve Jesus? And I don't mean no harm. I don't mean no harm, Dr. Clay. And y'all might not let me come back no more. But St. Bartley, you're looking for a pastor. Can I tell you what you need to do? Give Jesus a try. Things get better when you involve Jesus. See, some of y'all saying, he meddling, no, I'm preaching. And I've got some proof tonight that if you involve Jesus, it'll get better. Well, Mary and Jesus told me to tell you that if you want to turn around to take place in your life, there are three things you got to do. Verse 3 says, here it is, you've got to first of all accept there's a problem. I'm in the text. But verse 3 says that sometime between the course of the events, I don't know who it was, maybe they drunk a little too much, but for some reason, they ran out of wine. Let church say that's a problem. Now, that may not seem like much of a problem to you, but customarily in the day, wine was important. It was just a matter, first of all, of honor, because the bridegroom was responsible for providing adequate supplies. And if something ran out before the party was over, it simply meant that the bridegroom didn't plan well. It was a matter of honor. But then, number two, to run out of wine could cause public embarrassment for the groom and the family. Are y'all on board? But then third, in some instances, the offending family could even be fined. But then fourthly, to the Jewish people, wine symbolized joy. And the rabbis had a saying, and they said this, without wine, there's no joy. Huh? There's a lot of rabbis at A&M this weekend tailgating. Whatever the case was, they ran into a problem because they ran. Help me preach tonight. And I thank God today, Minister Eloise McNeely, that at least Mary had sense enough to acknowledge there was a problem. Now let me just pause right there, put it on pause to talk to some of us who act as if we don't know we got problems. These TV preachers have messed a lot of us up because they tell us that you ain't got to claim it. Preach, boy. Can I tell you something for free? If your blood pressure is high, it's just high. And you ain't got to claim it, it'll claim you. Y'all ain't helping me. If your sugar is just high, your sugar is just high. If your spouse is just mean, your spouse is just mean. If your children are just disrespectful, your children, are y'all gonna help me preach? You've got to learn how to accept the fact you've got some problems. When you got a man who's running for the highest office of the land, who can degrade women and then chalk it up to locker room talk, we got a problem. Are y'all on board? When you got dumb cops being caught by smartphones for killing innocent black men, we've got a problem. When you got folk that come on that side of St. Bartley to avoid speaking to somebody on that side of St. Bartley, let the church say we got some problems. And if you're ever gonna get help, you've got to get to the point where you learn how to just say it's a problem. And I was listening to the radio one day, Courtney, and Byron Cage was on. And Byron Cage has this song, and it's got a good beat, but theologically, it don't make sense. Byron Cage says this, and you know it. He said, you can wave them off. He said, you can wave them off. He said, you can wave your troubles away. You know it. Then he said, you can dance them off. He said, you can dance them off. You can dance your troubles away. Let me tell you the problem I had with Byron Cage. My problem with Byron Cage was this. If I could wave my problems off, when none of my loved ones be in the graveyard. If I could dance my problems off, when nobody have cancer, when nobody be poor, are y'all gonna help me preach? At the end of the day, in this life, I don't care what you do, you can preach like Paul, you can pray like a deacon, you can shout like a mother. At the end of the day, all of us have to deal with problems. Job, man born of a woman, help me preach. It's of a few days, and they're full of trouble. That church said problems. Jesus said in this world, you're going to have some what? Tribulation. Paul said anybody who intends to live godly must suffer persecution. Let me just help you real quick. All of us have to deal with our share of problems. But I heard a good mature Christian say it like this: I've had some good days. I've had some hills to climb. I've had some weary days. Preach Jermaine Turner. And some sleepless nights. But when I sit down and think things over, all of my good days, do I have any company in this house? Outweigh my bad days. Do I have about 10 of y'all that can say through it all, I won't complain, because through all that I go through, God is still good. If you're going to have a turnaround in your life, in your church, you got to get to the point where you just acknowledge your problems. Mary had a problem. But then verses 3-5 tells us if you're going to have a turnaround, you've got to learn how to embrace the process. Mary, what do you do when you find yourself dealing with problems? I'm glad you asked. Mary gives us two things that you need to learn to do if you're ever going to have a turnaround. Mary said, tell St. Bartley, when you're dealing with problems, number one, you've got to learn how to run to Jesus. Are y'all? Mary did not get on the phone and gossip about the problem. She did not get on Facebook and post the problem. She did not get on Twitter and tweet the problem. Mary took the problem right to Jesus. You don't hear Mary saying, who drunk all the wine? Huh? You don't hear Mary saying, that's just like Negroes. You can't have nothing. Y'all ain't saying nothing. First thing Mary did was took it to Jesus. Jesus, we ran out of wine. Jesus said, woman, what that guy do with me? Now some of y'all look down on Jesus because he refers to his mama as a woman. But woman was a polite and common form of address in this day. And Jesus wasn't disrespecting his mama. Jesus was just acknowledging, as well as informing her, that his greatest mission was not to turn water into wine. Jesus says, I didn't come to turn water into wine. I come to die on a cross. And my time has not come. Can I tell y'all tonight, I thank God for Mary. Because Mary teaches us tonight, St. Bartley, that when problems come, whether they're on your job, whether you're in your home, whether they're in your church. Mary teaches us tonight that when problems come, and if you want to turn around, you've got to learn how to run to Jesus by way of prayer. Can I tell you tonight, and I'm almost there, cussing ain't never solved the problem. Fussing ain't never solved the problem. Mumbling and grumbling and complaining has never solved the problem. You quitting the choir, you quitting the usher board, you quitting the church had never solved the problem. But is there anybody up in this house that can testify prayer still works? Y'all ain't got to testify. I got my own help tonight. All throughout the Bible, we're commanded to pray. Jeremiah 33:3 says, call unto me, and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things which thou knowest not. Isaiah 55:6 says, seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Matthew 7:7-8 says, ask and it shall be given. Seek, ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. James 4:2 says, you have not because you ask not. Philippians 4:6-7 says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And if you don't remember any of those scriptures, just reach back and get grandmama's theology. She said, Jesus is on the main line. Just call him up. Touch your neighbor and tell him, pray about it. I ain't got much, St. Bartley. I just need to tell you tonight, got to learn how to pray about it. Songwriter said that problem that I had just couldn't seem to solve. I tried and I tried, but I kept getting deeper in the Bible. Oh, one day I messed around and turned it over to Jesus. I turned it over to the Lord. What did he do? What do you do? Anybody need to turn around other than me? Mary told me to tell you, you got to learn how to run to Jesus. But then number two, Mary told me to tell you, you got to learn how to respond to Jesus. Mary says, Jesus, we ran out of wine. And Jesus said, that ain't got nothing to do with me. My hour has not come. Mary didn't get discouraged. She stopped talking to Jesus and started talking to the disciples. And she said, I heard him, but whatever he tell you to do. Whatever he tells you to do. Oh, y'all don't want to hear me tonight. Whatever he tells you to do. Yeah, okay. If you want to turn around, you've got to learn how to respond to him. Can I talk to St. Bartley? Can I talk to St. Bartley? See, you got to be careful because, see, you'll get a lot of folk meddling in your business. And everybody got their opinion as to what you need to do. But whatever you do, you make sure you obey him. I'm through. Y'all looking at me funny. Chicago PD is coming on. I want to watch it too. Can I tell you tonight, whether it's in your home, whether it's on your job, whether it's with your health, whether it's with your finances, whether it's with your church, at the end of the day, if turnaround is going to come, you've got to learn how to respond to him. When problems arise, when trouble comes, the best thing we can do is simply do what Jesus says do. I hear you. Jermaine, what does Jesus say do? Matthew 11:28, he says, come unto me. Yeah, I feel preachy. What does Jesus say do? 1 Peter 5:7, he said, cast your cares on me. Y'all ain't talking. What does Jesus say do? Romans 8:28 says, trust me. What does Jesus say do? Acts 16:31 says, believe on me. Is there anybody in St. Bartley tonight that can testify that things get better? When you get to a point where you obey him. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, yes, Lord, acknowledge him. Is there anybody here? No, he'll direct your path. Can you touch your neighbor tonight and tell him, neighbor, you can obey him? Third and finally, if you're going to have a turnaround in your life, they told me to tell you, you need to learn how to experience his power. Jesus changed the situation. And I'm glad tonight to report to you that when Jesus shows up, he'll always change your situation. The Bible says that this change was unconventional because Jesus did not tell the boys to go to the ABC store. No, he told them to go and get the water pots and fill them up to the brim. And you looking at me funny because you're trying to figure out how in the world are you going to get wine from water pots. But I come to tell you tonight, whenever you're dealing with Jesus, sometimes he'll tell you to do stuff that don't make no sense. Have I got a witness here? It didn't make no sense when Jesus told Naaman to go dip in a muddy river. But when Naaman dipped 7 times, the Bible says that his flesh was restored like a little child. Have I got a witness here? It didn't make no sense when Moses and the children of Israel got out there and got thirsty, but they couldn't drink the water because the water was bitter. And the Lord told Moses to take a tree limb and dip it down in the water. Whoever heard of a tree limb making bitter water sweet? It didn't make no sense when the Lord told Joshua that the walls are coming down, but I ain't gonna send in a demolition crew. Just walk around 7 times, and on the 7th time, just break out and shout. Is there anybody here that can testify when you're dealing with God? You gotta be like Nike. You just gotta do it. Have I got a witness here? The Bible says that they filled up the water pots. Are y'all gonna help me preach? And somewhere between the dip and the sip, water became wine. Have I got a witness here? And the last thing I want to tell you is that the Bible says that the bridegroom didn't know where it came from. But if you look into the parentheses of verse 10, the Bible says that the disciples knew where it came from. I'm gonna try it one more time. The bridegroom didn't know where it came from, but on the inside of the parentheses, the Bible says that the disciples knew where it came from. Can you shake your neighbor's hand and tell them, neighbor, I don't know about you, but I'm on the inside of the parentheses. I know where my help comes from. I know who woke me up this morning. Anybody here know who it was? It's Mary's baby, Joseph's stepson, Joella's grandboy, died one Friday. Yes, died one Friday, and they buried him in a borrowed tomb. But Ali, yes, Ali, Sunday morning, he got up, got one question: won't he make a way? Won't he see you through? Won't he bring you out? Shout, yeah! Shout yeah! Won't he do it? Shake your neighbor's hand and tell him, neighbor, he's been good to me. He's been good to me. Yes! 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 Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it tonight? Touch your neighbor and tell him, neighbor, I know it's rough. I know it's tough, but hold on. We've been made endure for a night, but joy, joy, joy. In the morning, anybody gonna hold out? Anybody gonna hold out? Shout yeah!